We've been taught that to win we must fight, that to be heard we must be the loudest voice in the room. But history and real leadership tells us otherwise. Some of the most powerful victories have been won without a single shout. No grand speeches, no forceful demands, just the right action at the right time by those who understood that silence is not weakness, it is a weapon. Today we're going to talk about why the women who stay silent win the loudest battles. We live in a world that rewards loudness. We celebrate those who speak up, those who take the floor, those who make themselves heard. Social media amplifies voices that are bold, assertive, and sometimes even aggressive. In meetings, in politics, in boardrooms, and in daily conversations, the common belief is that if you don't speak, you don't matter. But there is another kind of power, and one that is often overlooked, misunderstood, and sometimes feared. It is the power of silence. Silence is not absence. It is not passivity. It is not a lack of strength. Silence, when used with intention, is one of the most strategic tools a person can wield. It is the ability to hold space, to control the tempo, and to influence without making a sound. It is the discipline to listen when others react, to pause when others rush, and to choose words carefully instead of speaking impulsively. Throughout history, those who have mastered the art of silence have changed the course of events in ways that loud voices never could. Consider the quiet strategists, the negotiators who let their opponents talk themselves into a corner, the leaders who observe every detail before making a move. The ability to remain silent in the face of pressure, in the heat of conflict, or in the chaos of uncertainty is not weakness. It is control. It is the ability to dictate the rules of engagement without letting emotions dictate the outcome. Silence creates an unsettling energy. It demands attention. When someone expects a reaction and is met with stillness, they begin to question themselves. They begin to rethink their position. They begin to wonder what the silence means, what power lies behind it. The person who stays silent commands the room without ever raising their voice. And yet, silence is often misunderstood. People equate it with submission. They mistake it for indecisiveness. But those who truly understand its power recognize that silence is not about stepping back. It's about stepping up in a way that others don't expect. It is about letting others exhaust themselves, reveal their intentions, and show their weaknesses before making a move. In high-stakes situations, silence shifts the balance of power. It makes people uncomfortable. It forces them to fill the void, often exposing more than they intended. A well-timed pause in a conversation can create an opening that words never could. A deliberate decision to say nothing can speak louder than an argument. Silence is not the absence of a voice. It is the presence of control. It is a strategy, and those who master it never fight battles the same way again. Most people go through life reacting. They respond to what is loudest, what is most urgent, what demands their attention in the moment. They speak before they think. They argue before they understand. They jump into conflict without truly grasping the battlefield in front of them. But those who master the power of observation operate differently. They do not react, they absorb. They do not rush, they assess. They understand that knowledge is not gained by being the loudest person in the room, but by being the most aware. Observation is a skill, an art, a discipline. It is the ability to step back when others step forward, to watch when others speak, to gather information when others reveal themselves. In every conversation, in every negotiation, in every room where decisions are made, the person who sees the most holds the most power. When you observe, you notice the details that others miss. You see the subtle shifts in body language, the hesitation in a voice, the flicker of doubt in someone's eyes, the slight change in posture that reveals uncertainty. You hear not just what is being said, but what is being left unsaid. You recognize patterns in behavior, in decision-making, in the way people move and interact. And with that knowledge, you gain an advantage that no amount of loudness can match. The best strategists, the best leaders, the best negotiators are not those who dominate conversations, but those who listen, watch, and learn. They're the ones who understand that people reveal their true intentions not when they are being challenged, but when they are being observed. A person who talks too much will eventually say something they didn't intend to say. A person who argues too much will eventually expose their own weaknesses. And the person who watches it all unfold gains an upper hand that is impossible to counter. Observation is not passive. It is an active and intentional process. It requires patience, control, and discipline. It requires resisting the urge to react when every instinct is telling you to respond. It requires holding back when emotions are pulling you forward. It requires choosing to see more, hear more, understand more. The world belongs to those who see it clearly, the ones who understand that knowledge is power, that information is influence, that seeing what others do not see is the ultimate advantage. While others fight to be heard, those who observe fight to understand. And in the end, understanding always wins. In today's world, attention is the currency everyone seems to chase. Social media has created an environment where visibility is often mistaken for value. The louder someone is, the more followers they have, the more dramatic the message, the more engagement it gets. People are rewarded for making noise, for capturing fleeting moments of recognition, for saying whatever it takes to be noticed. But attention is not influence. Attention is easy to get. It's a viral video, a controversial statement, an eye-catching headline. It's a momentary spark that burns out as quickly as it appears. But influence, that is something entirely different. Influence is not about being seen. It's about shaping the way people think, act, and move forward. It's about creating lasting change, not just momentary awareness. True leaders, true visionaries, true change makers do not chase attention. They build influence. They do not focus on being the loudest voice in the room. They focus on being the voice that people remember long after the noise fades. Influence is not measured by how many people hear you. It's measured by how many people change because of what you say, how many people take action, how many people carry your message forward long after you've spoken. The difference between attention and influence is in the depth of connection. Attention is shallow. It is surface-level recognition. It is driven by trends, by algorithms, by momentary bursts of relevance. Influence, on the other hand, is deep. It is built on trust. It is cultivated through consistency, integrity, and a message that stands the test of time. There's a reason why the most influential people in history were not always the ones with the most visibility in their time. Many of them worked quietly, behind the scenes, shaping movements, shifting mindsets, and rewriting the rules of society. They didn't need to be the center of every conversation. They needed to be the catalyst for something bigger than themselves. And influence is not about forcing people to listen. It's about making them want to listen. Those who seek attention demand to be heard. Those who build influence earn the right to be heard. They don't need to push their message onto people. People come to them because they trust that what they have to say carries weight. Influence is also about longevity. Attention fades quickly. The person who is popular today will be forgotten tomorrow. But influence compounds over time. It builds like a wave, starting as a ripple and growing stronger with every action, every decision, every moment of consistency. The most influential people do not rush to be noticed. They understand that real power lies not in how many people look at them, but in how many people truly listen. Influence does not come from noise. It comes from substance. It comes from the ability to shape perspectives, to shift cultures, to leave something behind that matters long after the initial spotlight is gone. Those who understand the difference between attention and influence do not waste their energy trying to be seen. They focus on making an impact so profound that even in silence, their presence is felt. In a world where emotions often dictate reactions, those who master emotional intelligence do not merely survive, They lead, they influence, and they win. Emotional intelligence is not about suppressing emotions. It is about understanding them, controlling them, and using them as a tool rather than allowing them to become a weapon against oneself. It is the ability to navigate conflict without being consumed by it, to remain steady when others crumble, and to turn emotional awareness into a source of strength rather than vulnerability. Emotional intelligence begins with self-awareness. It is the ability to recognize what triggers a reaction, what fuels a response, and what emotions are at play in any given moment. People who lack self-awareness are ruled by their emotions. They get defensive when challenged, aggressive when threatened, and impulsive when under pressure. They fight battles out of anger rather than strategy, and in doing so, they often lose before they even begin. But those who understand their emotions can pause, analyze, and adjust, become unshakable. Beyond self-awareness comes self-regulation. Emotional intelligence is not about avoiding feelings. It is about directing them with purpose. A person who cannot control their emotions will always be controlled by them. In high-stakes situations, emotions can either cloud judgment or clarify it. The difference lies in whether a person allows themselves to be reactive or chooses to be intentional. Those who master emotional regulation understand that responding with anger may feel powerful in the moment, but responding with composure creates power that lasts. But emotional intelligence is not just about managing oneself, it is about understanding others. It is about reading the room, recognizing the emotional states of those around you, and adapting accordingly. People reveal more through their emotions than they do through their words. A sudden shift in tone, a hesitation in speech, a flicker of frustration in someone's eyes. These are signals, and those who are emotionally intelligent know how to interpret them. They know how to diffuse tension without escalating conflict, how to guide a conversation toward resolution rather than destruction, and how to make people feel understood without surrendering their own position. Emotional intelligence is also the key to influence. People are not moved by logic alone. They are moved by how something makes them feel. A leader can have the best strategy in the world, but if they cannot connect emotionally, they will struggle to inspire action. Influence is not about overpowering others with facts. It is about aligning with what drives them at a deeper level. It is about knowing when to push and when to pull back, when to challenge and when to support, when to remain silent and when to speak with conviction. Perhaps the most underrated aspect of emotional intelligence is the ability to remain calm in chaos. When everything around them is falling apart, when tempers are flaring and uncertainty is at its peak, emotionally intelligent individuals do not panic. They do not get sucked into the storm. They become the anchor. And in doing so, they command a level of respect and authority that cannot be faked or forced. Emotional intelligence is not about winning arguments. It is about winning people. It is not about suppressing emotions. It is about mastering them. It is the silent advantage that separates those who react from those who lead, those who struggle from those who rise, and those who are heard for a moment from those who are remembered for a lifetime. Most people believe that success is about speed, being the first to act, the first to speak, the first to respond. We are conditioned to think that moving fast means staying ahead, that quick decisions show confidence, and that waiting too long is a sign of hesitation or weakness. But the truth is, timing is far more important than speed. Acting too soon can be just as... The most powerful moves are not made in haste. They are made with precision, patience, and an understanding of the right moment to strike. Timing is an art. It requires discipline. It demands awareness. It means resisting the urge to respond to every challenge immediately and instead stepping back to see the full picture. In a world that rewards instant reactions, those who master timing separate themselves from the rest. They know that sometimes saying nothing is more powerful than speaking. Sometimes waiting is more strategic than rushing in. Sometimes the difference between winning and losing is not what you do, it's when you do it. Think of a game of chess. The best players don't just move pieces, they anticipate, they calculate, they don't act on impulse, they wait for the moment when their opponent is most vulnerable. The same principle applies to real life. Whether in business, leadership, negotiations, or even personal battles, the ability to time a decision correctly is what shifts the balance of power. A well-timed move can turn a losing position into a winning one. A well-timed silence can make a statement louder than words. A well-timed question can unravel an opponent's entire argument. But timing is not just about patience, it's about awareness. It's about understanding the energy in a room, the dynamics of a conversation, and the emotional state of the people involved. It's about knowing when to push and when to hold back, when to confront and when to let things unfold naturally. There are moments when speaking up will command respect, and there are moments when holding your ground in silence will shift the power dynamic entirely. Knowing the difference is what makes timing an art rather than a guess. Consider a leader in a crisis. If they respond too quickly, they risk making decisions based on incomplete information. If they wait too long, they lose control of the situation. The right decision made at the wrong time can be just as disastrous as the wrong decision altogether. That is why great leaders don't just make good choices, they make them at the right moment. They understand that the weight of their words depends not just on what is said, but on when it is said. Timing is also about emotional control. It requires resisting the natural human impulse to react. When faced with a challenge, most people respond immediately, driven by emotion rather than strategy. But those who understand timing know that power lies in the pause. A moment of stillness can unsettle an adversary, make them second-guess their position, and give you the clarity needed to act from a place of strength rather than reaction. Opportunities do not always come at convenient moments. Sometimes the perfect chance presents itself when you least expect it, and sometimes the hardest thing to do is wait when everything in you wants to act. But those who have mastered timing trust that a move made at the right moment carries far more weight than 10 moves made in a rush. They know that battles are not won by those who fight first, but by those who fight best. At the moment when victory is within reach. We are conditioned to believe that strength is about force, that the loudest voice commands the most respect, that the most aggressive action yields the greatest results, that power is about pushing harder, speaking faster, and fighting longer. But true strength is rarely found in force. True strength lies in restraint. Restraint is not the absence of power, it is the control of it. It is the ability to act but choosing not to. It is knowing when to hold back, when to conserve energy, when to let the situation unfold before stepping in. While many believe that striking first gives an advantage, those who understand the power of restraint know that waiting, observing, and moving with intention always outweighs impulsive action. Restraint is the mark of a leader, a strategist, a person who understands that every action has consequences. Those who lack restraint act out of ego, out of emotion, out of a desperate need to prove something. They speak without thinking, react without calculating, and fight battles that never needed to be fought. But those who have mastered restraint understand that sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. In negotiations, restraint is the difference between winning and losing. The person who speaks first, who rushes to fill the silence, often gives away their position without realizing it. But the one who waits, who allows the other side to reveal their hand, gains the advantage. A single pause in a conversation can shift the entire dynamic. A single moment of patience can make the difference between success and failure. Restraint is also the key to emotional intelligence. When someone is provoked, when their pride is challenged, when they feel the need to defend themselves, the natural response is to lash out, to retaliate, to prove their worth. But the strongest individuals know that not every battle is worth fighting, and not every insult requires a response. The ability to absorb the moment, to hold back when others expect an immediate reaction, is what separates those who are controlled by their emotions from those who control their emotions. Strength and restraint is about discipline. It is about knowing that every ounce of energy spent on the wrong fight is energy lost for the right one. It is about conserving power, about choosing battles wisely, about understanding that sometimes the greatest display of strength is the refusal to engage. The world is filled with people who believe that strength is about domination, but history has proven time and again that those who last, those who lead, those who truly shape the course of events are not those who react to every provocation, but those who master the art of restraint. They know that words spoken in anger cannot be taken back, that actions made in haste cannot be undone, that the most powerful people are not those who act first, but those who act with precision when the moment is truly right. Restraint is not weakness. It is control. It is patience. It is the ultimate form of strength. Those who master it do not burn out, do not waste their energy, do not fall into traps set by those who are reckless. Instead, they move with purpose. They lead with intention. And they win not by overpowering, but by out. The world glorifies battle. We are taught that victory comes from struggle, from overpowering the opposition, from engaging in direct confrontation. From sports to business to personal conflicts, we are conditioned to believe that winning requires fighting. That the only way to succeed is to push harder, speak louder, and dominate those who stand in our way. But the greatest victories are not won through brute force. They are won through strategy, through patience, through an understanding that the most powerful moves are often the ones that avoid unnecessary battles altogether. Winning without fighting is not about avoidance. It is about mastery. It is about knowing when a fight is necessary and when a fight is simply a distraction from a greater goal. It is about recognizing that true power is not about proving strength. It is about making strength undeniable without ever having to use it. History is filled with leaders, warriors, and strategists who understood this truth. Sun Tzu, in The Art of War, wrote that the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. This is not a philosophy of cowardice. It is a philosophy of intelligence. The greatest generals do not win wars by engaging in every battle. They win by choosing the right battles, by weakening their opponents before the first strike, by ensuring victory before a war even begins. The strongest negotiators do not win by shouting down their opposition. They win by creating conditions where their opponents have no choice but to concede. Winning without fighting begins with perception. It requires seeing the battlefield before stepping onto it, recognizing patterns before they fully emerge, and understanding that the best way to defeat an opponent is to remove their will to fight before they even engage. When people believe they cannot win against you, they stop trying. When they see that your position is unshakable, they seek another path. And when they realize that the fight itself is not worth it, they surrender, not because they have been forced to, but because they have been outmaneuvered. This principle applies to all aspects of life. In leadership, those who maintain composure, who do not react impulsively, and who allow others to reveal their weaknesses always maintain the upper hand. In negotiations, the person who listens more than they speak, who allows the other party to talk themselves into a weaker position, always walks away with the better deal. In personal conflicts, the individual who remains calm, who does not let emotions dictate their actions, controls the direction of the conversation, and ultimately decides the outcome. Winning without fighting is not just about external battles. It is about mastering internal ones as well. The fight against ego, against pride, against the need to prove oneself in every confrontation. Many battles are fought not because they need to be, but because individuals cannot resist the urge to engage. The need to be right, to be heard, to assert dominance often leads people into conflicts that drain energy, waste time, and yield no real victory. But those who have nothing to prove, those who understand that power is demonstrated not in aggression but in control, recognize that walking away is often the strongest move. It is also about patience. Many people rush into conflict believing that immediate action is a sign of strength. But patience allows for the collection of information, the understanding of the opponent's position, the ability to maneuver into a place where fighting becomes unnecessary. A conflict avoided through superior positioning is a conflict already won. Winning without fighting is not about submission. It is about knowing that the true measure of strength is not how many battles you win, but how few you need to fight. Those who master this principle do not exhaust themselves in endless struggles. They do not waste energy on those who do not matter. They do not allow their emotions to dictate their strategy. Instead, they move with precision, with foresight, with a quiet confidence that makes their victory inevitable before the fight even begins. Victory is not always about being the loudest, the strongest, or the fastest to react. True power comes from mastery of emotions, of timing, of restraint, and of influence. Women who choose silence as a strategy do not do so out of weakness. They do so out of wisdom. They understand that observation grants knowledge, that timing dictates impact, that influence outweighs attention, and that true strength is found not in force, but in control. The world often mistakes noise for power, but history has proven that those who endure, those who lead, and those who create lasting change are not those who react to every provocation. They are the ones who move with intention, who speak when their words carry the most weight, and who win battles long before they are ever fought. It is not about fighting every war. It is about knowing which wars are worth engaging in and which can be won without lifting a finger. The strongest women are not those who shout the loudest, but those whose presence commands attention without demand. Their silence is not absence, it is strategy. It is not submission, it is dominance in its most refined form. And in the end, the ones who win the loudest battles are not those who engage in every fight, but those who choose their moments with precision, those who speak only when necessary, those who understand that real power is not in proving oneself, it is in never needing to.